Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Tony here, Tony's LPs Are Us. Thanks for stopping in. Today I want to do a little segment on the upcoming Bruce Springsteen box set called Nebraska Expanded 82, Nebraska 82 Expanded, but it's really Nebraska Electric. It's also going to have the original Nebraska album, I guess remastered, included. It's a 4-record LP set, also has a CD set. Each set comes with a Blu-ray, which I'll go over in a minute. But I'm going to read a little bit about what Springsteen said about Nebraska in his autobiography of a few years back. That's this here, this book here. Pretty cool. He's got his Corvette that he's had for years. And it's funny, he just did a demo promo video about this new upcoming Nebraska Expanded 82 box set, and he was sitting right in front of that car, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, the set's coming out in October 17, 2025. It's available for pre-order. That seems to be the catchphrase of this year, pre-order. There's so many effing albums and CD box sets out for pre-order that you can't really keep up anymore. You know, I'm sure there's some people that were going to buy everything. You know, thank God I'm not buying all the new jazz stuff that's coming out. I wish I could. I would love to get the jazz albums that my friend Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile recommends and suggests. He buys a lot of stuff from thrift shops like I do, but he also buys a lot of new reissues of these classic jazz albums on Blue Note and Impulse that you can't get anymore. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. Does a great jazz channel, but you know, you can't keep up. I'm basically doing rock. Once in a while I'll pick up a jazz LP if I'm interested, like a Miles Davis, but that's where I am right now. But I'm sure all of you are in the same boat, that these records are coming out faster and faster and faster. I feel like we're back in the heyday of vinyl in the 70s when, you know, every week you had to go to your local record shop or your chain store, like a Sam Goody's or a Crazy, if you remember Crazy Eddie's, and buy a few records because you heard these records. And now we're being inundated by great reissues, the great reissues of stuff that come with compilation discs of outtakes and live stuff, and really good. So I'm going to read what Bruce said about Nebraska in his autobiography, and then I'm going to show my Nebraska albums, talk about this very exciting reissue series. I'm going, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go pre-order that. So I have that hopefully around October 17th so I could discuss it, listen to it. It's a expanded edition box set, and it's really, I would say, priced very, very affordable. Bruce is not, I don't want to compare Bruce with Apple or Bruce with the Beatles, but compared to what the Beatles want for records that we've heard and stuff that was sitting on a shelf that they didn't want to release originally and remastered and, you know, re-energized or whatever, retweaked. The prices for Bruce's box set that I'm going to talk about is extremely affordable in my opinion. So I'm going to read something from, this is chapter 43, and I recommend, if you want to know a little bit about, and here's the jacket. But as I open this, I just saw the Asbury Park Auditorium there. That's in Asbury Park, the convention center, I believe, which I've been to a few times to see shows. So here we have chapter 43. It isn't long, so I'm going to be able to read this, and it gives you a really good insight on what Bruce thought about when he wrote this, and I'm going to talk about what Bruce just talked about when he released his Lost album sessions, and then what happened, I guess a few weeks ago when this was announced. This was announced last week, but I'm sure Bruce had recorded the videos and spoke to interviewers previous to the announcement. So here it is, chapter 43, simply titled Nebraska. It's on page 298 for those who are reading along. So, houseless and clueless about where to turn next, I decided to lose myself in the marginally more controlled terrain of my musical life. I'm gonna try to talk like Bruce, and I'm gonna do a good job. With the spider web of my past gumming up my works, I turned to a world I walked through as a child, remained on familiar terms with, and heard calling to me now. Nebraska began as an unknowing meditation on my childhood and its mysteries. I had no conscious political agenda or social theme. I was after a feeling, a tone that felt like the world I'd known and still carried inside me. The remnants of that world were only 10 minutes and 10 miles from where I was living. The ghosts of Nebraska were drawn from many sojourns into small town streets I've grown up on. My family, Dylan, Woody, Hank, the American Gothic short stories of Flannery O'Connor, the noir novels of James N. Cain, the quiet violence of the films of Terrence Malick, and the decayed fable of director Charles Lawton's The Night of the Hunter. Great film if you haven't seen it, very spooky. All guided my imagination. That and the flat dead voice that drifted through my town on the nights I couldn't sleep. The voice I heard when I'd wander in 3 a.m. trance, into a 3 a.m. trance, out onto the front porch of my home to feel the sticky heat and listen to streets silent but for the occasional grinding gears of tractor trailers groaning like dinosaurs beneath the dust cloud pulling up South Street to Route 33, that's in Jersey, and out of town, then quiet. The songs in Nebraska were written quickly, all rising from the same ground. Each work took maybe 3 or 4 takes to record. I was only making demos. Highway Patrolman and State Trooper were recorded only once each. Mansion on the Hill was first, My Father's House last, and with the song Nebraska serving as the record's heart, I tapped into the white gospel, early Appalachian music, and the blues. The writing was in the details. The twisting of a ring, the twirling of a baton was where these songs found their character. As in The Night of the Hunter, I often wrote from a child's point of view. Mansion on the Hill, Used Cars, My Family, My Father's House were all stories that came out of my experience with my family. I wanted black bedtime stories. I thought of the records of John Lee Hooker and Robert Johnson. Music that sounded so good. Music that sounded so good with the lights out. I wanted the listener to hear my characters think, to feel their thoughts, their voices. These songs were the opposite of the rock music I've been writing. They were unrestrained, still on the surface, with a world of moral ambiguity and unease below. The tension running through the music's core was the thin line between stability and that moment when things that you connect to, your world, your job, your family, your friends, the love and grace in your heart, fail you. I wanted the music to feel like a walking dream and to move like poetry. I wanted the blood in these songs to feel destined and faithful. Frustrated at blowing all my money on studio time, I sent my guitar tech out to get a recorder, a little less lo-fi than the cassette recorder. A little less lo-fi than the cassette recorder I usually use to lay down my new ideas on songs. I needed a better and less expensive way to tell my new musical and record-worthy. My new material was record-worthy. Sorry, I was just getting an alarm here. We're back. I was just getting an alarm on my new Galaxy phone. So let me go over that. I'm sorry about that. I was distracting. I wanted the music to feel like a walking dream and to move like poetry. I wanted the blood in these songs to feel destined and faithful. Frustrated at blowing all my money on studio time, I sent my guitar tech out to get a recorder, a little less lo-fi than the cassette recorder I usually use to lay down my new songs. I needed a better and less expensive way to tell if my new material was record-worthy. He came back with a 4-track Japanese Tascam, a 144 cassette recorder. We set it up in my bedroom. I'd sing, play, and with 2 tracks left, I could add a backing vocal, an extra guitar, or tambourine. Of the 4 tracks, that's all you could do. I mixed it through a guitar Echoplex unit into a beatbox, like the kind you take to the beach, like a boombox, right? Brought it to the band, re-recorded it, and remixed everything. Now, Bruce is saying previously that he didn't remember recording Nebraska with the band Electric, but here in his book, which is only a few years old, he does recall it. So, Bruce's memories are going back and forth like all of us. So this is interesting. Okay. On 4 tracks, that's all you could do. I mixed it through a guitar Echoplex unit onto a beatbox, like the kind you take to a beach. Total cost for the project, about $1,000. After that, I went into the studio, brought it into the band, re-recorded, and remixed everything. On listening, I realized I succeeded in doing nothing but damaging what I've created. We got it to sound better, more hi-fi, but not as nearly as atmospheric, as authentic. All popular artists get caught between making records and making music. If you're lucky, sometimes it's the same thing. When you learn to craft your music into recordings, there's always something gained and something lost. The ease of self-unconscious voice gives way to the familiarity of presentation. On certain records, that trade-off may destroy the essential nature of what you've done. At the end of the day, satisfied I've explored the music's possibilities in every blind alley, I pulled out the original cassette I've been carrying around in my jean pockets for months and said, that's it. So we go to chapter 44. So Bruce is saying that he says that today, that he did not, and he's been saying it since 82, that the stark acoustic 3-chord version he recorded on his own in his bedroom on that small cassette 4-track recorder could never be bettered. But he did record it with the band, and that's the original lineup. I'm not sure if Clarence was in that particular session, but in that session, they also recorded a bunch of things that went on to Born in the USA, which I'll show. So you had the Electric Nebraska and Born in the USA kind of melded, but those Electric Nebraska tracks were never really released, except a few maybe on bootleg. Now, chapter 44 is interesting, and I'm just going to read the first paragraph because it kind of ties up where we're going. Nebraska and the first half of Born in the USA were recorded at the same time. I thought I was working on one record, but Nebraska to integrate soon awakened me to a new situation at hand. Well, I don't understand this line, but I thought I was working on one record, but Nebraska soon awakened me to the situation at hand, what he heard in the Nebraska original. We toured with the idea of a double record, the acoustic Nebraska and the electric Born in the USA, in one package. But the totality of the music was just too different. The tonality of the music was just too different. Too opposite. Nebraska had been so funkily recorded, it would not go onto an LP. It felt distorted. It would distort feedback and declare revolution on the common materials of recording. We discussed releasing it on cassette only. Then Chuck Plotkin managed to find an old mastering lathe at Atlantic Studios. And that's interesting because one of my dead wax on Nebraska is an Atlantic recording, etching, dead wax. And my lo-fi latest surrendered itself to vinyl. Nebraska entered respectively on the charts, got some pretty nice reviews, and received little or no airplay. For the first time, I didn't tour on a release. It fell too soon after The River, and Nebraska's quiet stillness would take me a little longer to try to bring it to the stage. Life went on. I drifted away from my very 20-year-old girlfriend and packed for a cross-country road trip. I recently purchased a cottage in Hollywood Hills, and that's when Bruce went to Hollywood and recorded, or California recorded without the E Street Band. So that's taken from here, and thank you for your patience for letting me read that, and it's kind of long, but I'm going to move ahead here pretty quickly. Here is there is the expanded, you can see the expanded box set that's coming out in October. And that is the Electric Nebraska that Bruce said in his autobiography that he recorded. Now, previously, Bruce said that he didn't think it was recorded electrically. A lot of the band members thought they did record it. They weren't sure if it was only rehearsal or if they recorded it. So, now, as far as the box set goes, we have there's a single, which I don't know what's on that single. You have, with the story behind Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska set to be explored by a feature film, Deliver Me from Nowhere. That's the film coming out right around the time of this record. Nebraska 82 Expanded Edition, 4 LPs plus 1 Blu-ray, gathers revelatory, unheard material from this prolific period from the fabled Electric Nebraska sessions with the E Street and solo home and studio recordings, joined by a 2025 remaster of the original album, plus a performance film of all 10 Nebraska songs played in sequence. And I think that's Bruce by himself. Springsteen's 82 acoustic masterwork is augmented by 17 contemporary recordings, 15 previously unreleased, that were part of the groundswell of inspiration that shaped Nebraska and share its haunting themes. Together they expand our understanding of how this seminal album came to be and reflects the breadth of Springsteen's creative intentions at a pivotal moment in his artistic development. So this is pretty cool. Nebraska, the live versions that he did on acoustic were recorded at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank. I've actually seen Bruce and Miami Steve there together. You have the original album. You have the Red Bank Blu-ray theater stuff that's expanded. You have the original album remastered. We have Electric Nebraska, which has Nebraska, Atlantic City, Mansion on the Hill, Johnny 99, Downbound Train, Open All Night, Born in the USA, and Reason to Believe. Nebraska outtakes include Born in the USA demo version, 82, Losing Kind, I'm not sure if I ever heard that, Nebraska outtake, Downbound Train, Nebraska outtake, Child Bride, Nebraska outtake, Pink Cadillac, Nebraska outtake, The Big Payback, single B-side 82, I think I have that B-side, Working on the Highway, Nebraska outtake, On the Prowl, Nebraska outtake, Gun in Every Home, Nebraska outtake. This is an amazing box set, and I believe the price of the 4-record set is like around $125 or so, $129 or so. So it's extremely affordable. You could check the prices online or Amazon or go to Bruce's site. I think Bruce, if you go to Bruce's site, there may be a coupon if you do it now and pre-order for 15% off if you get onto that mailing list. So that's worth it. That's about $20 off of what you pay. It might balance out if you're paying shipping and if you're doing Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime is free shipping. I kind of like Amazon Prime or Amazon because if there's any problem with the record, any defect, which happens very often lately, unfortunately, a lot of records aren't, quality control is kind of lacking. They'll take it back without a problem. They'll send you a new copy. Once you send it back, they'll send you a new copy or refund it if you want a full refund. This was just 50 years old. This is the 30th anniversary box set. So I pulled this out just because I was looking through my Bruce stuff. Fantastic. This has a DVD of Bruce's early band performance in London, England. It has another remastered 30th anniversary of Born to Run. It has outtakes on it. It has a booklet. It's just a great box set. And here I have the original clippings from when it came out in the newspaper. Remember those? And the original price. I think I bought a record that day, and this was $29.90. Here is the remastered, and I'll show you the hype sticker. And there's the hype sticker. Shows you what's on it. But really cool. I'm getting back into my Bruce. I'm getting back into Bruce. I'm gonna start listening to Bruce, and I'm gonna, like I said, after this is done, we're gonna go up and order. Now, I pulled this out. This is a fantastic, one of the biggest, or probably the biggest 5-album sets that sold millions. They said this was like printing money for the distributor, for the record store, for Bruce, for Columbia, Sony, or whoever put this out at the time. But when I noticed on here that there were a few songs, Electric Nebraska, which no one talks about. You have Nebraska Meadowlands 8684. I may have been there. Johnny 99, Giant Stadium 8/19/85. Reason to Believe, Meadowlands Arena 8/19/85. And of course, I know Born to Run is on here somewhere, Electric, but we've heard Born to Run Electric anyway. But the reason I'm mentioning that, because Born to Run was part of those Electric Nebraska sessions. That was recorded at Bruce's house, I believe at the time, maybe Rumson, his studio, also at the Hit Factory, and another studio in New York, and where it was mixed, I'm not sure, but I think Robert Ludwig definitely remixed, or definitely had something to do with the cutting process of the original Nebraska. If you check your dead wax, it could be an RL. So there is some, if you check this out, there are some Electric Nebraska on here. Now here's my Born in the USA, which has Born in the USA, and we get a live version of Born in the USA from this sessions. Now what they're describing these sessions as is basically punk rockabilly. And if you hear them, I've heard a few tracks already online. I can't play them here, unfortunately. I wish I could. But very loose, really cool. Oh, here's where it was recorded. Recorded between these Nebraska sessions, January 3rd, 82 to May 82 in Colts Neck, New Jersey, Power Station Studios, and the Hit Factory in New York. Now, you had Nebraska, Electric Nebraska, which was never released, and then we have Born in the USA, and that's this. So here's Born in the USA. Here's the original, liner, inner, right? Then I'm going to show my Nebraska. Now, I didn't say this, I've said this previously. I think this is one of my favorite albums by Bruce. I go to this album all the time. I remember specifically buying this record at my previous house, and my friend Rick came over, who was the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan I know, next to my friend Peter. Hi, Peter. Hi, Rick. But Bruce knew every song by heart. All these stuff from the demos, all the things that he did when he demoed those tapes for Columbia Records. But my favorite Bruce album, we listened to it together for the first time, Rick and I. But Bruce Springsteen's solo acoustic triumph includes Atlantic City, Johnny 99, Open All Night, remastered from the original source tapes, faithful recreation of original packaging. This was a record store day, back in the day, record store day. Here is my original Nebraska, one of them, still in shrink. Here's the inner with the lyrics on the back, and there's Bruce looks like it's coming out half asleep, but if you watch those early recordings, there's some clips, I believe, of Bruce recording Nebraska. And here's the vinyl and the lyric sheet on the back, which is cool. Don't know if there'll be a lyric sheet in the box set, but I'm sure there's going to be a huge booklet and all that good stuff. But at $129, 4 records and a Blu-ray. Now, I mentioned that. Why doesn't Apple include Blu-rays in some of their box sets that they're doing, especially now that they're going to release, that new box set with anthologies. Here is a promo. You can see the promo stamp. It's not a white label promo. So it's just the regular Nebraska. So there you have it. I try to line it up for you. I think that what Bruce has said when he was releasing the lost albums and what he has said hence is different, because Bruce was saying, I don't think we ever recorded the Electric Nebraska sessions. We may have rehearsed them, but we didn't record them. And now later he said, I went to the vault and I found them, and we basically, I guess they cleaned them up, and we're going to get a tremendous, Bruce from '82. It's not, new stuff. Plus, we're going to get Bruce from today playing his songs inside the Count Basie Theater in New Jersey. If you ever get a chance to visit the Count Basie Theater, wonderful, old-fashioned, like a movie theater, but very, very excellent acoustics and plenty of free parking in the neighborhood. So, but let me know what you think. This is one I'm excited about. We're getting something new. We're getting something that's been talked about since '82. The rumors of an Electric Nebraska have been floating around or have been on bootlegs here and there, but not many. Bruce is very cool about how he keeps his stuff, locked up in the vault. So let me know what you think. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you got something out of this. But don't forget, I'm not quite certain how it works, but I just saw on Bruce's site or Bruce Springsteen's website where you could buy the Nebraska Sessions Electric Expanded Edition, that if you get on their emailing, if you're a new customer, basically, you might get a 15% coupon off of purchases. Not sure if it applies to this new box set. A lot of times they don't. Even the great Rhino has specials, but it doesn't apply a lot of times to the Rhino High Fidelity series, the stuff that they know are going to sell regardless of the price. So anyway, there you have it. Let me know if you're going to get this, and hope you enjoyed this little segment. I try to be concise when I put it together. So much to deal with. Go to Wikipedia, go to the promos that are out, and you could see this fantastic box set and make your decision on whether it's for you. Great Christmas present. Thanks a lot. Keep rocking. Ciao.